So we're on our throne series. Last week, Pastor Monica kicked that off, and we're talking about kings, kind of like the hidden kings, the kings behind the scenes, not King David, not King Solomon, but like, King who is that? That's when even when I was like going through, I'm like, I've read the whole Bible like a few different times, and who was that king? Like, I sometimes just forget. There's a lot of kings. I'm going to just shrink things down really quick for you before I tell a story. God's chosen people were like, hey, we want to be like everybody else. Isn't that how we are a lot of times? I want to be like everybody else. We want an earthly king. We don't want you to be our king, God. Can we have an earthly king? So God's like, well, I don't want to do this, but if you want it, here you go. So he gave them what they wanted, and it wasn't a good thing. Overall, it was not a good thing at all. God's like, I told you so. And they're like, we hate our kings. They're terrible. And he's like, well, I told you I'm supposed to be your king. So this went on for a long time, like kings and kings and kings and good king, bad, 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 horrible, treacherously terrible, great, stupendous king, horrible. Like it's just like this terrible reign of kings overall. And so I'm going to be focusing on a king, King Jehoshaphat. Now, if you were in the name game there, you'd just be like, I lost that one. Jehoshaphat, like, I don't know. Let's just shorten. I think that's where the name Joe comes from. I'm just kidding. It's not true. Jehoshaphat, but we're going to call him Joe for today. And so I'm going to sit down here in this wonderful throne, and we're going to use these characters to help tell a story, because I like to identify with people, and these are actually exact models and replicas of what they look like. Include clothing, like their thrones, everything. Exact. Except for at the end, there'll be like a big disclaimer of what isn't exact, and you'll see that, which is everything. So, we need a little chiropractic adjustment. There we go. So we got King Joe here, who's looking a little stunned. He's like, whoa, come on, buddy. Get with the program. He's got good posture. There we go. Let's relax, man. It's easy. Just chill out there. We could give him the sprawl out. This is what I like to do on the couch if I don't have let's really relax there. It's kind of tough to get. We need it to recline. Maybe the head nod in the front. Okay, so we got King Joe here, King Jehoshaphat, and I'll introduce this guy right away. But King Joe, I'm going to tell you a little bit about his life, and this is an overview. You can find this in 2 Chronicles, chapter 18. It kind of goes 18, 19, 20. There's a lot of things that are happening, but I'm going to just pull out a few things that actually are going on in Joe's life. Now, believe it or not, Joe, out of all the kings, he was a pretty stand-up guy. He was like he served God, he feared God, he wanted to honor God. He cleared out a lot of just like idol worship and just junk that's going on that God's people had really gotten into. He's like, hey, like let's honor God. And as a result, God honored him, and like wealth was brought to him, and surrounding nations were actually a little bit afraid of King Joe here. He was like God's man. So, which is a good start, a really good start. So what happened is through marriage, and not these guys didn't get married, but through marriage, like just so you understand, kings would like align themselves through marriage. So they'd find someone in their line and be like, hey, you should marry my daughter, and hey, you should marry my son, that kind of stuff. And they would unite their kingdoms together so that they could kind of do battle or business or whatever together. And so that's exactly what happened. Enter King Ahab. Sweet posture Ahab. Look at that side posture. My word. We got that? Look at that. That's nice posture. Dr. Bretton Baines would be very pleased. Okay, so we got King Ahab here, and he's loving life, and he's a bit of a swindler. Up front, he looks pretty shiny and clean and nice, but he's got some ulterior motives. And so through a series of events, they get to know each other, and they unite through marriage. And a few years later, King Ahab is saying, hey, let's have this big party. So he throws this big party, so King Joe and all the gang show up. And basically what happens is they start discussing, and King Ahab has this like hidden agenda. That's what the Bible actually says. And he says, hey, and he like whispers in his ear some sweet nothings. It probably wasn't a whisper, but I'm just taking some like Hollywood liberties. And so like he's just like, shh, 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 and they do a little whisper there. Sorry. I don't know. Hopefully this is like making sense to you guys. I'm just having a good time. It helps me tell a story a little bit better. So this is what I do at home when the kids go to sleep. I just pull out the dolls and just play with them. Not true. Okay, so yeah, some of you are like, yeah, that's not true. I got 3 daughters, so there's lots of these things around. Anyways, King Ahab has this hidden agenda, and what he wants to do is he wants King Joe to unite with him and say, hey, let's go into battle against these guys because I don't like these guys. So long story short, King Joe agrees to do it, even though God says, not a good plan. So he agrees to do it, even though God's like, nope, don't do it. So they go ahead, they go in the battle, and God actually, it actually says like there's a random arrow that was shot and just killed King Ahab. So he died. He's gone. These actually aren't mine, so I can't like smash them across the stage. I would have liked to just be like whammy, but I can't. So the throne is left. And I forgot to mention, actually, there was 2 kingdoms. This was the kingdom of Judah. This is the line of Judah. And then this was Israel. And so Judah was still like intact, but they lost their king. So they got another one. But basically what happens is King Joe's life was spared. So he returned back and was like, God, that was a stupid idea. And he starts like serving God again, like, okay, I'm going to trust you. And he spent almost his whole life serving God. And like just being a noble man who feared God, trusted God. And then at the very end, enter, this guy's even named Ken too. Oh, look at that. Now, his legs don't bend, so he likes to do like a casual hangout pose in front of his throne. He's just like, he likes to put the vibe out. Yeah, there we go. Pretty vibey. I don't know. I'm liking it, Ken. I'm liking it. So this is King Ahaziah. I always have to say it in my mind before King Ahaziah. Now this king, he was not a good king at all. He was a wicked king, but he put some charm on, or I don't know what he did. Like King Joe just must have been a sucker for bad kings. But King Joe lived his whole life doing well, following God, and then near the end of his life, he aligns himself with King Ahaziah. And in business, and it says this in 2 Chronicles 20:35, it says, because you have made, and this is the prophet, so I'll just fill you in again quickly. Before Christ came, God spoke to his people through prophets. So these prophets would be set apart, they would hear from God, God would speak to like these individuals, and then they would consult the kings and the rulers of the time. And so King Joe was told, like, hey, not a good plan again. He's like, I'm going to do it. It's like a sweet business. It's a good business opportunity. And so they actually were going to go into business building ships and then like do like trade on the waters with all these ships. And so this is what the prophet says here. He says, because you have made an alliance with Ahaziah, the Lord will destroy what you have made. The ships were wrecked and were not able to set sail to trade. So basically God said, game over, wah, wah, smashed all the ships. And that's kind of how King Joe ends his life. Like he doesn't end it on top and doesn't end it too well. And so that's really the story. Like that's a nutshell story. If you want to read it, like I said, 2 Chronicles 18 to 20. You just look up those chapters. And so thanks, guys. I appreciate man, they're just steady, hey? Some of you are like, this guy's an idiot. So what I want to do in the remaining time that we have is draw a few things out from this story that we had. Thank you so much, ladies. Appreciate it. Man, what a great team. We got a great team. We got a great church, don't we? Magnificent. And so what I want to do is I just want to focus on a few areas of just points of interest, really, and how King Joe aligned his life. He partnered his life. This message is actually called strategic partnerships. You can exchange the word partnerships for relationships as well. But I want to talk specifically about the idea of partnering with people because I think it kind of brings a different mindset than like, oh, I'm in a relationship with this. This is my friend. It's like, no, I'm partnering. I'm choosing to partner with you. And so there's just 3 conclusions I want to look at, or 3 areas of Jehoshaphat's life in regards to partnership, and then just some shared commonalities that I think, I'll just discuss it when we get there. How about that? Does that sound good, church? Yeah. Okay, the first thing that King Joe did is he aligned himself. He had a partnership through marriage. Now, marriage is something that not all, but many people are married in life. And it's not a big it's not a big surprise that when you like watch any type of television that is not Christian based, which there's not a lot out there that isn't that is Christian based, when you look at it, it's like marriage, the idea of marriage is just kind of what's confused, and it's just kind of a joke, really. It's just like, well, it's like married, like what's the point of being married? But marriage is actually God's idea. It's a great it's a God idea. It's God's perfect plan, actually, for two lives coming together. And so, between a man and a woman, God designed marriage. And he said, this is a safe place to experience life together and discover together. And so when it comes down to it, when you're choosing that person that you're going to spend the rest of your life with, that's not a light decision. That's not just something that we're like, I guess this person will do, and if it doesn't, I'll just like discard them and get a new one. Like that's kind of like, I mean, that's harsh words, but that's kind of how people think. It's like, if it's not going to work out, I'll just get what I want later. I can do it. And it's like, that's not God's idea of marriage. And what happened is with King Joe and King Ahab, King Joe united himself, and he's a God-fearing man, and he united himself through marriage with a family that was deceitful, a family that wasn't trusting God and wasn't following God. And I'm not saying if you marry somebody who's a Christian, and you're a Christian, they're a Christian, and their family isn't Christian, I'm not saying you can't do that. I'm not saying anything about that. I'm just trying to say more so it's like when you come together in marriage, let's not be like, well, I see my life here and going in this direction, and the other person, well, I see my life here and I'm going in this direction. It's not how it works. It's like, it's a common shared, it's like we're together, we're partnered together, and it's an important decision. And so that's the first area that I want to draw your attention to. The second one is the battle. There was a battle. And King Joe, he was kind of duped into it, and it was the marriage relationship, but he still had a chance to back out. And King Ahab said, okay, isn't this a great party? We're having a good time. And he's like, hey, what do you think about these guys over here? I don't really like these guys. You should join me in battle. And King Ahab's like, yeah, I'm in. But he didn't take time to actually discover who King Ahab was. He didn't. Now for us, I mean, we're not going into battle, like as individuals, we're not like, this is gangs of New York, and we're fighting these people. Okay, that's not what we're talking about, right? We're not talking about a physical fight. We're talking about spiritual fights a lot of times. And in life, I believe we need people to do battles with. It's super important to know who you're battling with and what you're battling for. If you don't know, it's like, so let me just give you a practical example. If you're going through, say for example, you're a first generation Christian. There's no other Christians in your family, and you're just like, God, I'm going to give you a chance. Here we go. That's a battle, and you need people to run and stand beside you, and like the 300 videos where they put the shields together and they move as one. It's powerful. You're battling together. You're looking for like-minded people who are like, I got your back. I'm going to fight with you. And even when you don't have the energy to fight, you said, you know what? You take a break. I'll fight for you. And so when it comes to battle, we really want to choose wisely who we're fighting with, because it's so you don't want to be like fighting and be like, is that person with me or against me? I'm kind of unsure. No, we want to know that's like this person or these people, they got my back. And as I go through the struggles and challenges of life, I've got somebody who's just like with me. And so you don't want to just like pick any random person. It's not like you're going around. I believe God brings people together and brings like-minded people together. And so it's not about just like going around like, hey, you're a Christian? Cool. Do you want to? No, it's a relationship. It's something that's developed. But as you're discovering people you want to battle with, you want like-minded people who are in your corner. The third thing is business. King Joe is rocking out life, made really good choices overall, and then all of a sudden, at the end of his life too, the end of your life, it's like you're rolling, you're building a legacy, and then you're thinking you're on top of the world, and he just made a poor decision. He aligned himself with another king who really was not, he was advised not to, and it was just, this guy wasn't good. And he shows, he's like, okay, we're going to do this. It's going to be awesome. We're going to build this business together. And when it comes to us, you can relate that to the church, but you can also relate that to just business in general. If I know sometimes in business, there's a really a honeymoon stage in, I think, any business. As you're looking into something, you get excited, right? Oh, this is gonna be so good, and it's like it's gonna be in no time at all. It's like the money's just gonna be coming in, and the reality is that doesn't happen without a lot of hard work. And it also doesn't happen when you're just kind of floundering on your own. You need people to run with you, to do business with you. And even if you're, like for myself, I do like contracting and different things like that. And for myself, at least it's just me running the business. But I consult other people who are like-minded. What do you think about this? And what do you think about this opportunity? And sometimes I'm thinking like, this is a great idea. And people who have kind of been down the path a little further are like, not smart. Not smart, Jer. And so, the Bible talks about being unequally yoked. Now, that's not something that we talk about regularly. Hey, are we equally or unequally yoked? It's like, excuse me? I'm not an egg. And so, yeah, basically, if you want to boil that down, being... You guys... You guys got really excited about that. Okay, sorry. Okay. If you want to look at that situation, being yoked is about having the same vision or same purpose. That's what it's about. And so in business, and in the church as well, we're about certain things. And I believe the church in general should all be about the same thing, loving God, loving people. But I think every church is actually called to accomplishing that a little bit differently. There's like a flavor of every church. And so we want to look for people to do business with and to run with in life and in church as well, who have the same vision and the same purpose. And so when it comes down to it, there can be another Christian, and that's not a good qualifier just to go into business just because they're another Christian, right? It's like you want to have that same heartbeat and the same kind of direction and vision and purpose. And so those are three areas that I believe are really important for us to draw out of the scriptures here. And with the remaining amount of time here in the last 9 minutes or so, I want to talk about just some shared characteristics. So I've got 4 characteristics actually. Some shared characteristics I can speak of partnering well, okay? So I believe that we're all meant to partner in life. We're looking for people to do life with, as from a spouse perspective, from a battle perspective, and from a business perspective. And you can fill in like business/church. And so here's some shared characteristics. The very first one is shared contribution. Shared contribution. And so partnering is about contributing, not just receiving. So, for example, all of us have been through school for the most part. Maybe in a homeschooling situation, you didn't experience this, but in a classroom situation, the teacher's like, all right, kids, we got this project, and you need to get in groups of 3 to 5 or whatever, right? And you get in these groups, and then this is the assignment, and then you all have to do this work, and in a week's time, you have a presentation. You guys familiar with that? Yeah, okay. So instantly, when I hear, you got to get into groups, I'm already scoping out, okay, we need, you're just trying to get in a good group, right? You want to get a good grade. And so, but you're trying to avoid the people that are like, man, that's a coattail rider right there. It's like, they're not going to do anything. Oh, I don't know what happened. And this is before texting, you'd phone a person's parents and be like, hey, is Tom there? Yeah, he is. Can you come to the phone? Oh, no, he's out playing on the bales. I was like, oh, shoot. You got... I grew up in a farming community. That's what it's like. He's out on the bales. It's like he'll phone you back or talk to him on the bus tomorrow. You guys are like, okay. Shared contribution. And maybe you're that person, though. It's like, no, I never had a problem with that. You probably were the person who was the coattail rider. Maybe. I don't know. But doesn't it suck where it's like you put in all this work, say it's like a 90-10 split, and it's like I did 90% of the work, and this person, this Yahoo, gets the same grade as me. It's like it just sucks sometimes, right? And so we're looking for people who are we're sharing we're sharing the load and we're contributing. We're both contributors, and so there's all sorts of areas that this works in. Think about a coach and a player. Like, you can have a fantastic coach and a player who has all the potential in the world, but if that coach is like, hey, little Johnny, here you go, and they're working with them, and then that kid just like sits on the couch at home, doesn't work on their skills, isn't really motivated, it's like, that's just a waste, right? That's not equal contribution. You need to just both be, I'm a contributor. And so, I mean, there's all sorts of different examples, but I'm going to move on to the next one. The next one is shared equality. Now, it seems like that's almost the same point as the last one, but it's a little bit different. I want to draw your attention to 2 Corinthians 8, and this is verses 12 to 14. I believe that the Bible really answers this question very well when it comes to equality. Now, if there is a willingness to help, everyone say willingness? Okay, so if there's a willingness to help, give within your means. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. Are you willing? Yes, I am. Do you have it within your means to give? Yes, I do. Okay, that qualifies you. Now, if there is a willingness to help, give within your means. That's perfectly acceptable. No one expects you to go without or borrow to give, okay? So we're not asking people, it's like, okay, don't go to your weight. You don't need to borrow so that you can give. The Bible's saying that's foolish. Don't do that, okay? So we pick it up here in 13. The objective is not to go under so others will have some relief. The objective is to use this opportunity today to supply their needs out of your abundance. One day it may be the other way around, and they will need to supply your needs from what they have. That's equality. And so it's not talking about, all right, guys, commune style here. We're going to dress the same, look the same, have the same. We're all equal. Now, no, that's not what we're talking about. God's gifted us and put us on this planet like as individuals, right? And we're meant to function as a body. We've all been given a certain amount in life. And so when it comes down to it, we want to, when you're partnering with somebody, it's about equality. It's not about, okay, you did this much, and now I'll do exactly this much. It's just having that, I'm all in spirit, and I'm going to do whatever it takes, and that other person says, I'm going to do whatever it takes, and you work together. And sometimes you might not, you share the workload. There might be a time where it's like, all right now, say for example, in a marriage situation, it's like, okay, for myself, I got 4 kids. Right now, I can't spend a lot of time at home compared to what I'd like to currently. It's just a very full season. But my wife, she's putting a lot of time there. So it's not like, okay, I had many hours with the kids, and now you got to have, it's not about that. It's like we're united together in purpose, in our vision, and we're looking to build together. And so it's like, okay, you know what? We're equals. We're working together. You got to hang on to this right now while I do this. Okay? Good? Good. So that's kind of the idea. And when you look at the church, there is a shared cost and there is a shared reward to building. When it comes to business, when it comes to anything, there's a cost and there's a reward. Now, if you look at it from a business perspective, of course, if 2 or 3 people came together, it's like, okay, we're going to contribute together. And we're going to take that risk together, and then we're going to experience that reward together. That's pretty basic. Well, in the church, sometimes we kind of get that mixed up, and we say, well, I'd like to go somewhere where we're experiencing a lot of reward. These are the good times, but when it's like, okay, we're asking for a cost, it scares people off sometimes and says, I think maybe there's a better church with a nicer reward somewhere over here. And when it comes down to it, it's like we want to be a church that says, you know what, I'm going to take ownership. I'm going to invest. It's not equal giving. It's equal sacrifice. I'm going to take out of my abundance. It might just be it might be a 1% abundance out of your whole extra that you have with the extra time, the extra gifting, whatever it might be. And I'm going to take and I'm going to give out of my abundance. And so it's shared equality. The third thing here is shared commitment. These are all similar, but yet they're a little bit of a different angle. Faithfulness and commitment are necessary ingredients of partnership. If we look here at Proverbs 20, verse 6, it says, many, everybody say many. Yes, many will say that they are loyal friends. So many will say it, right? But who can find one who is truly reliable? So we've got the talk, but do we have the walk? And so I want to encourage you, don't be a many. What I want to encourage you is be the person that you're looking for. Be the person that you're looking for. If you're like, where are those reliable people? Where are those faithful people? It's like, well, are you a reliable person? Are you a faithful person? Because you're not looking to ride coattails of somebody else, because let me tell you, that person eventually is just going to say, take a hike, because I'm not doing all the work. And it's a shared commitment. And we're just saying, I'm all in. And, you know, I think this can really help some people. It's something I'm learning. I'm a doer. Do we have any other doers out there? I just like doing it. It's just like, let me get after. I'll just do it, okay? Just let me do it. It's hard for me as I'm leading to not, the best way that I can truly do as a team grows is not to physically do it, but do it through other people. You know, you're getting others to work with you, alongside you, and buy into the vision. And so let me just say this. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. Okay? Let your yes be yes and your no be no. And this can be, you apply this to your whole entire life. And I believe some of you are just tired right now because you don't know how to say no. Learning to say no is actually a skill. It's something that you, and it's not just like, no. It's like you have to be able to weigh it out, and that's why you have good running partners in life. Good people who are like partnering with you. It's like you bounce it off them. Okay, is this a good idea to do right now? Because I believe a confident no makes your yes even stronger. Because everyone has a yes inside of them, and you want to put your yes where it counts, and you want your yes to mean something. If you say, yeah, I'm going to join this team, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that, you want to show up and be there, right? And you don't want someone who's like, I got about an 80% yes right now. So some of you just got to learn to say no. Some of you truly have to learn to say no so you can make your yes count. The greatest place I believe you can make your yes count is with Jesus, his church, and his plan. The final thing here as I wrap up is shared purpose. Purpose, vision, you can fill in the blank, whatever you want. The Bible says for lack of vision, people perish. And so you can just be working. But if we don't have vision, if we don't know what's going on and where we're going in our own personal lives, and this is a journey. It's not just like, I know exactly where I'm going 100%. It's like, well, it's probably going to change just a little bit. I think God gives dreams and he births things inside of people's minds and hearts. But we got to trust that God has got a great purpose out there for us. And you don't want to align yourself with somebody who has a different purpose, you know? And we as a church too, we don't want to have 5 or 6 purposes. We don't even want 2. We want one, making it easy for people to say yes to Jesus. Like that's what we want to do. We're here loving God and loving people. And so, you know, I could say a lot more, but I'm kind of out of time now. The boys here took a little bit of extra time. They look like they're relaxing and enjoying the message. You can relax a little bit more. Maybe sometimes you'd lay down and have a nap. Why don't you guys stand up? You guys can stand up. We're going to pray together. The greatest partnership that you can form in your life is a partnership with Jesus. I really believe it. Like we were designed. Do you know that you were actually created intelligently for a relationship with God? It's not like an afterthought. You and I, we were made for a relationship with God. It's the greatest thing ever. And sometimes we just think, oh, God, I don't know if you fit in my life. You know what? We are the greatest fit ever. When we say yes to God, when we say yes to Jesus, Jesus came to this planet. He was blazing a trail saying, it's all about relationship. I'm going to create a way for people to have relationship with the living God. And Jesus did it. He lived a perfect life on our behalf. He did it for us on our behalf, died, was murdered for our sins, and then was raised from the dead, victorious, which is so incredible. And all we have to do, the only response that we can have is just an authentic heart saying, yes, I'm open to you. I say yes to your plan. I say no to my ways. And so we're going to actually pray right now as a church family. If you're new or visiting here, we do this every single week. We're going to pray out loud. I'm going to lead us in a prayer. And this is a moment where you can actually say yes to Jesus for the very first time. Or maybe you've said yes to him in the past, but haven't been saying yes to him lately. This is a time to just say yes to him again. And so we're going to pray together. This is a prayer saying yes to Jesus. Open up your hearts to God and let's pray together. Let's say, Jesus, I say yes to you. I say yes to your plan, your purpose, and your ways. I receive forgiveness for all my sins, and I thank you for an incredible new start In Jesus' name, amen. Awesome, church.